It is Monday afternoon. Welcome back to the reading vlogs. I don't know where to begin. I think first things first, as you will have noticed, there won't be a Thursdays video this week. I'm feeling a little bit burned out and just tired from life at the moment. So I've decided I'm just not gonna force myself to do a video. This is a hobby, and I do want to enjoy everything I upload. The vlogs are easier to film, let's be honest. So yeah, I decided I will skip the Thursdays video again, which I'm really sorry for, but I don't want to force myself, to be honest. I just would much rather read more instead of doing the video and be happy with that. I did originally already film a video for this week, but I didn't like it, so it is what it is. Sometimes life is just in the way. But yeah, I wanted to give you reading updates for both books. As you can see, with this one I'm about halfway through, and this one I'm a third way of the way through. So let's start with Bloodline, which is James Rowland's thriller. I have to say, I feel like this one is a lot more boring than the other ones I read from him so far. So yeah, I just think this isn't really the topic for me. I'm at the point, in this one, the president's daughter get kidnapped. They have to find out why. They have to find her. It has something to do with the Templar Knights. They are now at the point where they know where the president's daughter is, and she's currently giving birth to her baby, which is what the kidnappers want. And yeah, I have to say the language is a little bit unfavorable in my opinion in this book. Like, the language around her giving birth is a little bit weird. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love it. I think it's a weird way talking about labor, like her like kind of losing control and some primal nature taking over. I think it's just a weird way to talk about it, instead of just being like, her body is functioning like it's supposed to be. I don't know. It's probably like a personal taste when it comes to descriptions like that. I just think it's a weird description. But yeah, probably everybody thinks, yeah. But so far, I'm actually quite bored by this one. I don't know. And then we have the second book, which is The Perfume by Patrick Süskind. And I'm a third of the way through. Grenouille is still a child. He is, I think, 11 or something like that. And he has to deliver some leathers that he made, or that were made where he's currently working, to a perfumery now. And he's now kind of showing off to the guy who owns the shop. And that is where I'm at right now. So he has his first, like, in German, it's called Berührungspunkte, so like touching points, which is probably not the right translation, but maybe you know what I mean, with like perfumes and all of the, like everything you need for that. It's like his first time actually getting in contact with that. So yeah, I have to say, the book reads really old. I mean, it's not that old. But yeah, let's be honest, it reads weird. I don't know if the English translation will be the same, which is obviously like a hard thing to replicate. But the way the author words things, which it is kind of fitting for the time the book plays out in. But for example, there's like one text sequence. Let me search for it. Here. The guy talks about good times, bad times, and what he wants to, like, he's thinking about giving up his perfumery because he isn't really good at what he's doing anymore, and so he has trouble keeping his job, pretty much. And so I'm gonna tell it to you in German first, I think, and then I'm gonna try and translate it. So what it says here is, Gott gibt gute und schlechte Zeiten. Er will nicht, dass wir in schlechten Zeiten jammern und wehklagen, sondern dass wir uns männlich bewähren. That's what is said here in German. And so translated, it's pretty much like God gives us good and bad times, but he doesn't want that we complain and like be sad about it. But he wants that we kind of like show him that it can be done in a manly way. That is how I would translate it. The funny thing is the manly in it, because like the book is like obviously pretty misogynistic, just like because of the times the story plays out in. But it's so funny to read a description of like, yeah, he wants us to do good and to show him that we could do it in a manly way, because what would be the difference to like a womanly way? There isn't even a womanly way. We don't know that, but it reads funny because of that. And so yeah, I think I prefer the movie so far, just because you don't have the written undertones of this like constant like gender undertone. I feel like in the book it reads pretty harshly when it comes to that. The movie obviously shows you the whole thing through like the times and stuff, but in my personal opinion it comes off less harsh in the movie. And so I don't know how the translation would be. Like obviously most of you speak English, so if you would read it in English, I don't know how the translation would do that, but in German it's like a pretty heavy handed misogynistic language in the book oftentimes, like how they talk about the woman. And obviously like I'm not critiquing it in a way like, oh, the book is misogynistic. It's because the times the book plays out in, but it reads funny from like a current perspective. I feel like that is how it comes across to me. So yeah, that is where I'm at right now. I'm ready to get into the killing of women in this book, to be honest. I'm at the point where I want to get to that, and I'm ready to finish this one, to be honest, because I just find it boring. The other ones were a lot more interesting. I think this one, because the topic is just so close to Dan Brown, stuff like that, you know, the Templars, all of that, I think it's just a little bit more boring. But yeah, that is how the reading is going. The weather is supposed to be warm, but not as warm as last week, so hopefully that won't hinder me with reading. And yeah, my plan is finish those 2 books this week, and I kind of want to try and finish my cardigan this week. I have, I think, a third of the second sleeve left, and then the button band. So the goal is to get the second sleeve finished till tomorrow, or like the day after, and then finish the button band throughout the last days of the week. So yeah, we'll see how this will go. Okay, let's do a reading update. And a knitting update, though I don't have the knitting with me downstairs here, but I finished Bloodlines, and I think this is one of the more boring thrillers by James Rowlands. I'm giving it 3 stars because it's not worse than other thrillers, I would say. It's just that I didn't care for the topic. It has a lot to do about living infinitely and bloodlines, like obviously DNA and stuff like that, though the science was rather flatlining on this one. Normally he goes more into the sciences and makes it a little bit more science-based. And then it was just a lot of politics. The only thing I really loved was the dog handler and his dog. There is like it's just a guy and his dog. They don't want to join the forces of Sigma, but yeah, there's a possibility that they might come up again in a later book. But yeah, I really like those 2 because I love dogs. But yeah, I think it's just more on the boring side. I feel like it's such a cliche topic. I feel like especially if you compare it with like the one I read last, which was like a little bit like The Institute from Stephen King, with like the special abilities, and that was a lot more interesting and a lot more like surprising. And then this one is really more like a weird version of like a Dan Brown book, I felt like. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 3 stars. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, but it is like in line with the other James Lawrence book, like writing wise and character wise. So you know, if you know those and you don't mind the storyline with like the kidnapped child that has something to do with like living forever and stuff like that, then I would say go for it. But yeah, if you think the storyline might sound a little bit more on the boring side, I wouldn't go with this one, because I think it's a little bit more boring than the other ones. But I finished this one. That makes me really happy. So that means that now the rest of the week I can focus on reading The Perfume, which I'm halfway through, which I didn't get around to because I wanted to get through this. To be honest, once I got through the point where I realized I wasn't really interested in the story that much, I felt like I needed to get through it to get back to a book that I really want to read. So yeah, the next couple of days we're gonna read The Perfume, continue with that one. I have a lot of work to do before going like on vacation the week after the next. I have like a week and a half of work left, and then I have 2 weeks off, which is nice. But yeah, so work is a lot, as it always is. Yeah, but I did also finish the second sleeve of my cardigan, which is upstairs right now. So I can't show you, which is dumb. But I don't want to go upstairs right now. Maybe I'm inserting a little bit of a clip if I can find one. But yeah, I did manage to do that, so I can start with a button band, and hopefully I can finish that before the end of the week, which would be nice, because then it's dry by the time I go and drive to visit my mother, which is what I would love for it to be. So we'll see about that. Yeah, other than that, I don't think I really have an update. Today it's a little bit less warm. Yesterday it was really warm again. Now it's a little bit less warm, which is nice. And yeah, I think I'm gonna finish the 2 books I wanted to this week, which is really nice. And then I have 3 books left on the TBR, which I'm getting worried that I'm not gonna finish. Words of Radiance. I'm also currently, like, with how work is going, I just don't have the capacity to read it, so it might need to be put into next month. Maybe like whilst I have a little bit more free time with being off work for 2 weeks, though I am doing a little bit of traveling because we are visiting my mom, and then we are visiting an amusement park here in Germany called Phantasialand, which I was, I think, once as a child, but I can't remember much other than the water attraction, which is a water slide. Is it called a water slide? A water coaster, maybe in English. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. We are doing like 1 night stay inside the park, directly next to a roller coaster, which is totally cool. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But obviously that means I have a lot less time to read than I would if I wouldn't be traveling. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I don't know yet if I will get to the Verge of Radiance this month, which is, it is what it is. But yeah, other than that, I'm really happy with how the reading is going. I'm happy with how the knitting is going. Not so happy with how work is going, but that is a different topic. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow with an update on the perfume, because I'm excited to continue that one. I made some good progress with the perfume, though I'm kind of confused. I mean, I have just a rough recollection of the movie, because obviously it's like, I think like 15 years ago that I watched the movie, somewhere in high school, you know, so it's quite a while ago. But I am slightly over halfway through now, and we're still not at the point that the movie was mainly about, so the murdered women, which is kind of interesting. I am through the point where he learned how to make perfume, which he learned that with a guy who was like really just like exploiting him, and in the end he in the end, he does give him permission to leave, and he does give him like a piece of paper that says like, yeah, he learned being a perfumer. Is that the word you say? He learned making perfumes at my place, and so he has like the credit that he is capable to do things, and so he can go out into the world and search for a job. And then he just goes out into the world and walks as far as he can away from humans in France. And that is where I'm at right now. So we aren't even in Paris anymore, which I'm pretty sure, you know, he will have to go back to Paris at some point, but he isn't. He's just happy being as far away from human beings as he can be right now. So yeah, that is really interesting. Also, a lot of the people that come in contact with him die. Like, not by his own hand, but like they just die after meeting him and once he's gone. So yeah, that is pretty interesting. I didn't remember that from the movie. Though, to be honest, the only thing I remembered from the movie was him being an adult and killing women and making perfume. That is the only thing I remember from the movie. But obviously, like, we are so far through and we haven't had that. I mean, he did kill one girl, but he didn't make perfume of her, and he was pretty young when he did that. So yeah, I'm really interested where we are going. So yeah, I don't know. I will read a little bit more today, I think, later on in the evening, because right now I'm doing a little bit of gaming and I'm trying to do my knitting. I'm currently picking up the stitches in the front to do the button band, but yeah, that is how the cardigan is looking right now, which I'm really happy with. And so I'm doing a little bit of gaming and then picking up stitches, because I don't enjoy picking up stitches, to be honest, and I have to pick up a whole lot of stitches around the front with like my needles on a cable. You can see like this is where I pick up the stitches on the front. And then I will, I think, try to start with the button band a little bit today and then read maybe like 30-40 more pages of the perfume. And yeah, that is kind of the plan for today. I am really enjoying the book. I think it's a really easy read. Obviously, I don't know how that is with the translation, but like the German copy reads, it has a good flow and it has nice working words that I used. Like, obviously the words that I used are a little bit like older, but I feel like it works out quite nicely so that you have like a really nice flow in the narration. So I'm really happy with that. So yeah, I am really happy that I got myself this copy, but I'm kind of confused about how the story plays out. And I feel like I kind of misremember the movie, maybe. So I will go ahead and watch the movie, but I will need to see if I can get it somewhere. I don't know, don't even know if any of the streaming services have the movie. But if I can find it somewhere, I will probably watch the movie after I finish the book, just because I'm curious if I just misremember a lot about the movie, or if the movie just picks up like the latter half of the book and not the complete book, which could also be true, you know. So yeah, that is what is going on. Tomorrow is the last day of work for the week, which I'm really happy about, and then it's the weekend, which we will have to go back to the vet with our dog, which is not the nicest because some of his blood work came back slightly elevated, so we need to go and sort that out, which, if you have a chronically ill dog, is like, it sucks. It's just all I can say about it. It sucks. So yeah, that is something we have to do on Saturday. So yeah, we'll see. But other than that, everything is going really well. So let's talk about the perfume. I finished it. I read I think I read like 40 more pages yesterday, and then I read the last 120 pages today. And I don't even know how to describe my feelings. I gave it 4 stars. I actually did really like the book, though it was totally different than what I remembered from the movie, which makes sense if you think about it. But obviously I had a lot of different impressions of what the book would be. The killing of the women to make the perfume is like a really, really small part of the book. The book is much more about making perfume and learning all about that, and then Grenouille's ultimate goal of being loved through or being seen through a perfume that he makes, and he does get to that. And then we have like a little bit of like him being caught, like being the murderer, being caught for that. He kills, I think, 26 people in total in the book, all of them women. And then we have a little bit of like the end, how he dies, which if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not gonna spoil it. But yeah, the book ends with his death, which is quite an interesting death, to be honest. But yeah, I think in my mind the book should have been much more of a thriller, which it makes totally sense that it's not. Having read it now, it does make total sense how the book is written and how the book plays out. But in my mind, because of the snippets I remembered from the movie, I thought it was much more of like a thrillery book from the perspective of the murder, pretty much, is what I had in mind for the book. But that is not what this is. This is just like the life story of Jean-Baptiste Grenouille and his feelings about everything, his thoughts about everything, his disposition, and then all of the people he interacts with. And not really, like, there isn't really a lot of like positivity in the book. It's like all really dark and unlikable, like everything in the book, but it really, really works out. And so yeah, I liked it. It is not a genre that I would typically read looking back on it now, but I think it is a really good book, and I would recommend reading it if you want to read a German classic. Which is kind of funny because this is the only book Patrick Süskind ever published. He did publish a few shorter novels, but he did not write a book. And he does still live in Germany somewhere, I think. So yeah, that was really interesting. I had to Google it because I wanted to know if you've ever seen a woman in his life. Because some of the descriptions, he describes women's breasts as freshly peeled eggs, which is a descriptor I would never use for that, especially for like 15-year-old. Like, I would never use that, but like even for 15-year-olds, it doesn't make any sense in my opinion. So yeah, the wording of things is really weird at places. I have to say that, but it kind of fits the story because obviously it's from Grenouille's perspective, and he doesn't really have a lot of interactions with humans, especially early on in life, and he is a really awkward human being. He feels more alien than human a lot of the time. So yeah, but I really, really liked it. I think like it's a really good 4 stars. I would actually really recommend it. I do need to rewatch the movie, but I don't know if I will get to that this week, so I might look into that next week. Because I really want to know if I just misremember the movie or if the movie is really a lot different than the book. Because I remember things differently in the movie, which we all know happens sometimes. So yeah. We will see how that goes. I will keep you updated once I get around to watch the movie. But yeah, that was really nice. I really enjoyed that, and it was a really good read. So yeah, I don't know which book I will pick up tomorrow. Either it will be Joyland, and I will allow myself to read another shorter book, or I will start Words of Radiance, but I haven't made my mind up yet. Okay, so this day feels like it has been going on forever. We went to the vet with the dog, and we have to go back next week. It's, chronically ill pets and humans. It's annoying. But yeah, we have to go back for another consultation about food and to do blood pressure on our dog, because we couldn't do that today because we had to wait too long. And yeah, it was a lot. And then we did some errands. Yeah, I did read a little bit, but not incredibly much because I just didn't have the time. But I did start Joyland. I just really wasn't in the mood to pick up Words of Radiance. It was just too big to consider that today. So I did start my reread of Joyland, and I'm pretty much just at the beginning where we learn things about our main character. Him and his girlfriend's problems, and yeah, he now has the job at Joyland and has gone home, and he will then come back once the season starts at Joyland. And he's currently like listening to the woman who rents him his room. He listens to the story about the murder story at Joyland, which is at the heart of the story, which is a girl that dies in the haunted house attraction. I like haunted walkthrough thingy-majingy, but it is on rails, but the type of haunted house thing. So yeah, that is where I'm at. I like this book. We'll see. I only ever read it once, so we see how I like the reread. Yeah, but so far it's obviously good. And then what I'm mainly focusing on this weekend is my knitting, and I don't know if I can show you that. I am currently knitting the button band, which is this one. I have finished knitting all of the buttonholes, so now it's just like knitting the double knitted button band. It's taking forever, but my goal is to finish it this weekend. Otherwise my timeline is not going to plan with this one. So yeah, I need to finish it tomorrow, so that is the plan. So I probably won't do much reading this weekend, but yeah, that is what is happening. Also, Silksong, if you've ever played Hollow Knight, the second game, Silksong, now has a release date, which is in 2 weeks. I never finished Hollow Knight. Like, I finished the game, the story, but I didn't 100% it, which I'm not gonna do because I suck at speedruns. I don't enjoy speedruns, so I will do all of the achievements except for the speedruns. And I want to do that before I allow myself to buy Silksong. So once I'm done with the knitting, I will play Hollow Knight. Because I'm excited to do a replay of that and do the achievements, which will probably take a couple of weeks. That gives me time for Silksong to come out and the initial fixes to come out that most games need nowadays. And yeah, I would really recommend, if you haven't played Hollow Knight and you enjoy video games, it's like it's a really brilliant game. You are a little bug and you have a sword and you fight through this underground kingdom, and it is all handcrafted and hand painted and everything. It looks so nice. It's a brilliant video game. So yeah, those are the plans for the weekend. But yeah, that is kind of all of the check-ins. I will end this vlog here now. I had a really good reading week, I have to say, and I hope your reading week went as well, or like better than mine. Would be nice, actually. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye!